Hi and welcome back to Beekeeping Basics with Danny. Today I wanted to do a small video on the difference between a swarm box and a nuclear box. Other than the shape and the size, it's not a lot of difference. They both have the same concept. They both hold frames inside them. So if you can see just there, it is just an empty box. It does have a small ventilation hole just there, which you can see, but it has a solid bottom on it, and it is made to take frames. Now it is relatively deep as well. If you can actually see inside that box to the frame there is quite a bit of room. So one of the reasons why I got the swarm box, we'll start with the swarm box first, is obviously if you wanted to catch a swarm, then you can put it in a tree, put it wherever you like really, and it's designed, you can either sit it somewhere like this, just sit it there, or it's designed so you can hook it up and hang it in a tree if you liked. Now, one of the reasons why I got this is not for the fact that I want to catch a swarm, because to be fair I don't, but if mine was to swarm and they went high in a tree somewhere where I couldn't get them, then obviously, you know, when they're all clustered as a swarm in a tree, they're still out looking for their actual place of where they want to go. So one of the reasons why I got the swarm box, and what I thought was a relatively good idea, is if mine swarmed and I was lucky enough to see that and they was up in a tree where I physically couldn't get them, then I could set this up, put some frames from my hive in there. You can also use is it lemon oil, or I can't remember the name of it. I have got some in the garage, but you're better off using some frames out of one of your hives with some honey on them or whatever to attract your bees to that swarm box. So if mine went up in the tree, for instance, and I couldn't get them, I couldn't reach them, at least I'd stand half a chance of setting this up relatively close to where they are, with some frames in it, and you've got a good chance that they would come from that tree and find this swarm box, for the simple fact that you've got a couple of frames in there with some honey and all that, and you're going to attract them because they're looking for places like this where they can get inside and start their new home. If they come out the tree and they went into that swarm box how you planned, then obviously you then move them out of there into a hive. Or another good reason for the swarm box is, again, if my bees was to swarm and they was hanging off again a tree or a bottom of a window or any of my garden furniture, then I would use this. I could use the nuke box as well, but if that nuke box was full up with bees and I had this to hand, then again all you would do, you probably wouldn't even need the frames in it. If they was hanging off of your garden furniture or anything that was low, you would just knock them. You'd literally get them and you would knock them into that, catch them into that box, basically. Literally catch them into that box. So it's a handy box as a beekeeper like myself. They're handy to have in the garage, for that simple reason. If they was to swarm, and they were swarming high, put some frames of honey in there and so forth to attract them and try and entice them from the tree that you can't reach into that box and stand half a chance. Or failing that, if they did swarm and I was relatively low, I was hanging off, well, I've got a bar that's near my hives or low in the tree or any of my garden furniture, you can collect them in there and do then what you need to do with them. So the difference between that swarm box and this nuclear box, well, a nuclear box is designed for one kind of purpose. Like I say, later in the year, I'm going to be doing a split into my hive, that's next to my hive that's active at the moment and into this nuke box. This will be my winter nuke box. The entrance, for a start, is a whole lot different from the entrance to the swarm box, as seen. So if you had bees in there this time of year, you know, it was warm and you was getting a lot of them in and out, you obviously want a big hole, wouldn't you? And like on the winter period, you've either got your grated slots, as you can see there, or you've got your pretty much like I would say a ventilation hole there, because bees are certainly not going to get through that. They're going to get through the big hole and they're going to get through the slotted hole, but they're not going to get through that, which is, if you was moving them, if you was taking them somewhere, obviously they've still got to be ventilated, so you would have them on that ventilated part. Now this nuclear box, not a lot of money. I think I paid £90 off of Amazon. You might be able to get them cheaper. This particular one didn't come with frames, and as it goes, I have seen some deals going about where you can actually buy this nuclear box with a full set of big broad frames for relatively about the same sort of price I paid for this. So shop around, you can get some good deals. And as you can see with this one, let's start with the box itself. Let's take out the frames. So as you can see with this one, this is like a hive. This has the mesh bottom floor on it, to give it the ventilation that it needs, as where the swarm box is a solid bottom. So it has the ventilation, and it sits, you know, it's a good inch or two, that mesh off of the floor. So that mesh is not set dead on the floor. So yeah, and we would put the frames in out of the hive with some cat brood, some honey, some eggs, and all the bees that are on that on them frames, when you take them out of the hive, you would install into this hive. I'd have to buy a queen and introduce that queen to this nuke box, and this would be my winter nuke box, my winter bees. And that, because obviously the queen's not laying so many eggs, you know, that they downsize, and you could quite easily have a winter nuke in here, just like when I bought mine. So that's the bottom shell as such, and the beauty of these boxes are, if you notice this part, that is just the lid, and it's only a polystyrene. It's a good polystyrene. You can actually get these in like a cedar wood. It's depending on how much you want to pay. You can get a real good nuclear box in cedar wood and so forth. Now this section, as you can see, has the feeder on it. So obviously you're going to want to out the bees over the winter period, and you're going to want to be feeding them either, I don't think you go with the sugar syrup so much, baker's fondant, whatever, and you can put it into this section here. So that simple procedure fits on there, and then that allows you to feed them bees when you need to over the winter period. With the gap that you've got between the two, so when that goes on to that, try and show you this, a bit awkward, but the gap, the depth between that and the top of that is about 50 mil, 60 mil. So I could still put a carton of baker's fondant, I could fit it on the top of that, and I could still use that lid to go over the top of it. So you can either use, like I say, you could pour in sugar syrup into these sections here, it will go under, if you was using it this time of year. But in the winter, when I'll be using it, like I say, you could fit a tray, a tub with the baker's fondant on it, and it would still fit on the top of that. Obviously you wouldn't be using this section, because that's just there to block it off. But you would sit it on there, put your lid on, and that's how you'd feed them. So the nuclear box is a great design. Swarm box. Put this back in it. So I just really wanted to put a cap on the difference between the two, and effectively what you would use the two for. So yeah, and that's it from me. See you next time.